And let's get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Naz Anderson. I am the owner of schoolpro.io. Our goal is to help vocational school owners. Hey, thank you so much. Our goal is to help school owners work smarter and not harder. You got into this business so that you can serve others and not be burnt out. And it's very hard to do as enrollment increases and you have so many inquiries and so many students contacting you, some moving forward, some not. You have to follow up. All of these things can be done with automation. And so that is my job. That is my goal to ensure. Hi, Sharina. Thank you for joining. To ensure that you have all the tools that you need. So let's talk about what's currently happening. Most vocational schools are actually losing students off rip. So, regardless of what programs you offer, CPR, BLS, phlebotomy, IV, CNA, medical assisting, it really doesn't matter what programs you offer. When a student contacts you, if you're not able to respond within the first 5 to 10 minutes, you easily lose a lead right from the start. Drop a one in the chat if you currently have a way to follow up with your leads automatically, or drop a two if you don't have that yet and you're still doing manual follow up. Just want to see where you are. One, if your students are getting responded to right away, whether they call, send a message, or email, or drop a two in the chat if your students have to wait for you to see their message, respond to their message. So oftentimes what happens is students are reaching out to a list of people. A lot of schools are listed on the Red Cross website, places like Dreambound, different partner websites. And so when they're reaching out to you, they're actually going down a list oftentimes. That list is comprised of different training programs near them, right? So that might be you and five other people, that might be you and 10 other people. It really just depends on who else is on that list. So without being able to respond back quickly in this world of instant gratification, it's very easy to lose that student's interest off rip. And so the great thing about having a system in place that responds back to their personal inquiries and not just a blanketed generic, hey, thank you for contacting, someone will get back to you. We're not talking about that kind of response. We're talking about a personalized response. So depending on what program they're asking about, they get a response based on that program. That's something that you should have set up for your school. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail. Shireen, are you still with me? Can you hear me? Before I move on, I just want to make sure I don't lose you. Okay, I think you're here. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So, another thing is you have a life. You are either teaching, you're sleeping, you're eating, you're spending time with your family. And so, that's another way leads get lost, because you then have to check back to see who has contacted you while you were busy living your life or teaching other students. And then you're growing a list of follow up where you have to find time in your schedule to follow up with these folks. And then as the word of mouth is increasing, your Google reach is increasing, all the things that you're investing time and energy into to get the word out, as that increases, your inquiries increases. And drop a one in the chat if you know all about having to follow up with people that are not serious. Is that something that's happening in your day to day? You're spending time, you're taking time out of your day to follow up with people, and they're either not for real, they're not serious, they're not ready, and you've just wasted at least 5 minutes of your day. And you do that several times because you have a list of students that you need to follow up with. Drop a one in the chat if you can, if that resonates with you. All right, yes. It's everybody's issue. So right now most schools are using one or more combinations of these softwares on the screen. So they're using Jotform or Google Forms for registration. They're using MailChimp or ActiveCampaign for their emails. If they are using any kind of automation, they're using Zapier, but it's not connecting to every single piece. So if they're using Calendly or Jotforms or Google Forms for their registration, they're still having to do a manual step. And then after that, they're also checking emails manually. They're, whether it's Gmail or Microsoft, because of course, when students do the contact pages, go into an email box, and they can die in that email box without someone responding to it right away. And then if you're doing any kind of online piece, you're using Kajabi, Class A 365, even Google Classroom. And all of these softwares were not created to work together because they're working as a standalone software. They were just built so that you have access to it. So what a lot of vocational school owners find is that even though they have technology, quote unquote, they're still having to do a lot of heavy lifting manually because these systems don't speak to each other. Drop a one in the chat if you're spending at least 20 hours a week manually inputting information, you or your team member. Tell me if this sounds like you. You're spending at least 20 hours a week manually putting in name, phone number, email, what class they're interested in into a CRM from a registration form or interest form. And that is something that you just don't have the luxury of time to do because that time could be spent doing other things. And not to mention the cost. So when you're paying for all of these subscriptions separately, these costs add up. So you're doing Jotform. If you're doing any professional plan, there's a cost associated with it. If you're using free plans, oftentimes that means that you don't have HIPAA compliance because free plans don't often come with that. So when you really look at it, you're paying at least $600 to $700 a month without realizing it because you're paying for multiple subscriptions. And these systems don't talk to each other, so you or a team member still have to do manual work. Nobody has time for that. Okay, we want to make sure that your time is being used more wisely in your business. We want to make sure that when you do have to take a day off or when you are going on vacation, your operations are still running smoothly. So let's talk about what's really slowing your registration processes down. So from the door, your interest process is slowed down because your students are reaching out, they're sending you an inquiry, and nobody's getting back to you. So we've already talked about that. You have a lot of inconsistent communication. Hey, Daisha. You have a lot of inconsistent communication because if it's you and another team member working, y'all are saying different things every time you respond. So that often becomes an issue. There's always going to be some kind of break or a gap in your registration process if there's a manual follow up. And what I mean by that is it's your time. So 1 week you may have some downtime. So you're going through the registration process right away. You're sending out the form, you're sending out the welcome email, you're sending all the things, and it's seamless. And then you have a week where life is life in. And so it may take 2 to 3 days or even longer to finish that registration process. So again, this creates a broken registration flow, and it's not a good look for your students. Even when they come into your school or wherever you provide training and they have a great experience, you want to make sure that that experience starts from the door. And one thing that a lot of school owners face is students asking a million questions like, hey, when does this start? Hey, when do we do this? When do we bring in this? And all of that could be avoided if there was consistency in communication, meaning all of this is done through a pipeline. There's a lot of limited payment options for school owners because sometimes Klarna, Affirm, and Afterpay, they are not something that gets approved. And so a lot of the school owners that are using our automation software are able to use Afterpay, Klarna, Affirm, which automatically increases their enrollment because they don't have to have an account with any of these. They just have to offer it as a payment option at checkout. And so if a student has an account with Affirm or Klarna or Afterpay, they're able to select that option when they're checking out. So you get paid up front. As soon as they check that option, you get your money up front, whether it's $75 for CPR or $2,000 for tuition or remedial programs. So we work with test prep remedial programs as well. Doesn't really matter what it is. You want to make sure that the registration process is they complete the registration form. They then make their payment or they select their payment process. So on our forms, they're able to select, do I want a payment plan? Do I want to pay in full? And if they select the payment plan process, they're able to then get notifications when their next payments are due, as well as those payments being deducted automatically. So you don't have to chase people down for your money. If they pay in full, you don't have to worry about it. They can use, again, a payment plan system, and then they're paying in full. You don't have to worry about it. And then post-graduation follow-up. This is where a lot of schools drop the ball as well because you just don't have the time to request a review, right? You've done a good job, but if you check Google reviews right now, if your last Google review was more than 3 weeks or more than 2 weeks, and since you've had a class, there's a gap or a break in your operations process, you should be able to send out Google reviews and make sure that that happens as soon as the class is finished, the last day of class, even while they're there. So a lot of our schools set it up to where the students will get an email the morning of the last day of class. So all you have to do as an instructor or your instructor on staff can say, hey, pull up that email and go ahead and leave your review. Another great thing about this system is that it responds to the review automatically. So again, Google really loves businesses that respond to their reviews, and the quicker you respond, the higher up in your SEO you go, right? And so if you are actively engaging on Google, not just responding to your reviews, but also posting on Google, you are looked at as a trusted business, a reliable business to Google, and you're coming up in the search engine with higher up without paying for ads. So that's one really great benefit to using automation, this automation software. And then for social media, not having time to post is another pain point. Granted, a lot of vocational schools have partnerships with like WeOA, Snap, different types of people that are paying for tuition. Right. So oftentimes you're getting students reaching out to you without them actually having to search for you. You're already listed in a directory. So social media is a great place for you to continuously tell them when classes are coming up, what kind of classes you have. If you check your social media right now, you haven't posted in a month or 3 weeks or whatever the case may be about classes, that is understandable. You just don't have time. So having a built-in social media planner really works for a lot of vocational schools because they're really just making one post, or they're choosing a plan where our team is posting for them and they don't have to worry about it at all. So you're posting 3 times a week like clockwork. Any questions before we continue? Are you trying to invite somebody? Daisha, I want to wait so that they have a chance to join. And I think you can also send, if you press the 3 dots, you can also hit copy link and send it that way as well if you press the 3 dots on the video. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Any personal experiences of things that you are seeing in your school operation right now that you wish you had an answer for, that you wish you could improve? We can start with the inquiries journey. What is about the time frame that you guys are following up with student inquiries? Drop a 1 in the chat if it's less than 5 days. Okay. Yeah. And you can share the group too, Daisha. If you share the group, they'll be able to join right away and see the video. Or they can join later and see the video because I'll save it in the group. Thank you, Sharina. So let's talk about your inquiry follow up. Drop a 1 in the chat if it's 5 days or less currently. Okay. Drop a 2 in the chat if it's 10 days or less. So between 5 and 10 days. And drop a 3 in the chat if you really don't know. You're like, listen, I just know I respond when I respond because that's just the way life is set up. And that is, again, understandable. We really spent time making sure that we created this software because we've been working with vocational schools since 2018, and we definitely understand. Okay, we definitely understand that it takes a lot of know-how to understand the student journey when it comes to these systems. So starting with the inquiries, a lot of times students reach out because they're like, I know I need a change, but I'm not really sure what the change is. So they're reaching out to really get some more information about your program. So that's why automation comes in handy because they can automatically get an email about the program that they're interested in, how much it costs, different payment options, different start dates. And you don't have to worry about them being added to a list of follow-up when they're not really ready at this time. And then we take it a step further and we send another email, text messages in a chain so that they're able to continuously get contacted by you so that you stay on their mind and that they can learn about the different ways that they can enroll in your school. Because, learning about different programs, learning about especially how much it costs, those are pretty much going to be your top 2 questions. What programs do you have? How long does it take for me to finish these programs? And how much it costs. So being able to proactively answer those questions helps you increase enrollment because number one, it'll set you apart from other schools who are having the same issue as you. They're having to take time out to follow up with these students, and they're running the risk of the student signing up with someone else who reached back quicker, right? So it becomes like a rat race to an extent because you're just trying to make sure that you can follow up with these students. Registration journey, your systems have to speak to each other for it to be a great process for not just you relieving that burden of you having to send emails manually, ask questions, ask them to, give you forms and things like that. I know for remediation programs, the student has to provide a lot of different clinical documents and things of that nature. We have a test prep that we work with, and we literally have a form that goes to the student and they're able to upload their different TBD tests, PBD tests, they're able to upload their drug tests, all of these different things at different points in their journey. So the form continuously alerts the student like, hey, we're still missing this document. We're still missing this document. Before the school had this form, they were manually doing that. So they were literally storing students on an Excel sheet, checking their files every so often to see, hey, did we get everything so that we could send your name to the board? Because that's the whole point, right? And same thing for just a simple registration. For the most simple program a lot of people have is CPR. And so being able for the student or older person, whoever, it doesn't matter the demographic, for them to be able to fill out the registration form, make their payment, and schedule the time that they want to come to and get their welcome email and get their instructions and follow up and all the things, that has to be done in a seamless way so that it saves you time and it saves them information. And then post-graduation. So a lot of times, again, we're missing out on reviews because I know that you train more than 100 students, but you only have 100 Google reviews because you're not able to manually capture all of that, right? And some schools opt in to have an internal review process where we send a survey first to see how they felt. And if they liked it, then they can do a Google review, right? So you're not just, nervous about, even though you did a good job, but you just never know what a student is going to say. So we want to make sure that you guys have all the things that you need, and we get it. we totally understand what is needed for this process to run seamlessly. So here's a little bit of a, I guess, overview on how the system works. And I'm going to share some video as well on the screen so that you can kind of see Journey. And I did blur out the information. Let me make sure my screen switched before I go to it. I don't think my screen switched. Okay, here we go. Let me see. It's behind. It's lagging. We're almost there. Okay. There we go. Want to make sure that you see what I see before I talk about it. So I just wanted to blur out some of the student demographic information, but this is a student pipeline for one of our schools that uses the software. So you're able to see from the beginning the interested students, and then they move through this pipeline. So they go from being interested to then registering, and this is just from this month. So this month already started, and it's what, August 11th. So they've had 11 students register from this process. And so they go from being interested to registering, then they get their contracts that were sent, then they get their contracts being signed. So this is for you as a school owner to kind of have a handle on a big picture. What is happening in my school right now? How many people are interested? How many people signed up? How many people had their contracts sent to them, their enrollment agreements? How many signed? How many welcome emails have been sent? How many payment links have been sent? How many people actually paid? How many people started? How many people graduated? So this is a great way for you to have a high level overview so you can do better reporting and you can have an understanding of what is going on, because a lot of schools are operating blind. They're just kind of taking it one day at a time. They don't really know, out of X amount of interested students, how many people are actually signing up. And again, the great part about having an interested student workflow is that constant communication and that constant contact. So being able to automatically send a text like, hey, we have 2 seats left, a couple days before registration, that'll help prompt them so that they don't miss out and you didn't have to physically do that. So that's one thing. And then in regards to that same journey, having the students being able to book tours and book ways to contact you. We have some schools that have a call where they can book with the academic advisor. But again, all of this being done without you having to figure out, who do I need to follow up with for a tour? Who do I need to follow up with if they have any additional questions? And you can track what's happening to them in the system, so you can see the text message that they're being sent, you can see when they booked the tour, you can see the emails that are being sent, and you can also have timestamps for what they're doing. So a lot of our schools, sometimes you may get a chargeback, right? And so because of this system, a lot of schools are able to win their chargebacks because they have proof of when students submitted documents stating that they understand there's no refunds, that they understand that they have to inquire about certain things before the start date, that they've signed the contract stating that once they've started, the refund policy is that's what they agreed to. So just having these safeguards in place, it comes in handy as school owners, because you just want to make sure that you are following up with a personal touch, but you physically not having to do it, because we are in 2025. And so the less things that you can do manually means that you can go after more partnerships. You can host more webinars in person and online so that your students can learn more about your programs that you offer. You can set up more strategic partnerships and kind of, focus on growth more than operations, because your operations are in good hands. You're using technology. So your students can sign up at 3:00 in the morning and receive everything that they need. So if the class starts on Monday, they could fully finish signing up by Thursday, and you have everything you need and you don't have to hunt them down. And then making sure that you have a post-graduation process. So here's an example again of what that would look like for a student inquiry. So a student would submit the inquiry form. They would get an automated SMS or email sent within 60 seconds, and it's personal to what they're inquiring about. For the registration process, they would either utilize a registration link on your website. Again, this system can be embedded in your website, so you don't have to worry about getting a new website unless it's time for a refresh. Because updated websites also contribute to more signups because the information is clearly stated, and your students don't have to worry about asking a million questions before they sign up. The student receives a registration link if it's going to come through an email because they did an inquiry form first. Also, if the student just completes like a contact form, our system is able to pinpoint what it is that they're asking for in the contact form and reply to them as well. So that's another great feature that schools love about our program. And payment processing is handled automatically, and the welcome sequence is initiated. So whatever your school process looks like, we're able to customize and build out specifically what it is that you need for your school. And then the post-graduation workflow. So making sure that we're asking for reviews, asking for referrals. Drop a one in the chat if you ask for referrals, if that's normal for you to ask for referrals. Drop a one in the chat. Drop a two if you're like, nah, I haven't been doing that. So no judgment zone. We are all friends here. Drop a one if you ask for referrals, or drop a two if you do not ask for referrals. I want to make sure you guys are still with me. Okay. Yes. So our school owners are finding out that at least 60% of the students that are referred to them sign up. Why? This is my cousin. This is my homegirl. This is somebody that I know that just finished the program, and they have a lot to say about how amazing it is. And some schools offer an incentive. So if you refer and the student actually signs up, they could win an Amazon gift card or some kind of dollar amount based on a drawing, things of that nature. So it just keeps your alumni engaged. It keeps them as walking billboards for your school. And this is done automatically. So you don't have to worry about remembering to say, hey, can you fill out this form to get some referrals? Because as soon as your student puts a name and an email on the form, that person gets and phone number, that person gets contacted. So their referral gets contacted, and they learn more about the school. They can book a tour, they could book a call, whatever it is that you want to happen. But again, this is an automatic process. That's good, Daisha, that you're doing that. Right? And then again, what our schools are seeing, this is real-time data. So 4 times faster lead response is increasing enrollment rates because your students are able to get what they need from you without you having to follow up, but they can just move through the process. So if they're truly interested and they're serious about it, you want to get them signed up as quickly as possible. 60% in reduction in missed follow-up. So when students call, a lot of schools prior to using our program had a problem with real time following up because they were teaching. And that is a legitimate reason to not be able to assist a student, right? So we have a missed call workflow where a student can call, depending on what program they're interested in, they'll get a text back response so that they can say, hey, I need more information on CNA or phlebotomy or CPR, whatever the case may be, or other. If they're an existing student, they actually do need to speak to someone. You can prioritize those callbacks based on their response in the system. On average, our school owners are saving 15 plus hours a week. I actually I have an interview up right now with a training prep school, and I didn't even know this. She basically told me that she's only working about 10 hours a week now. So 40 hours a month is what she's spending on running her school. And to me, that is amazing. And I want that for everybody because that extra time can go into so many more things. So this is again something that's custom built for your school. Your student's journey is going to be there's going to be no gaps in that journey, right? There's going to be no manual process for you. So all you have to do is worry about greeting your students when they come in for a tour, when they come in for the first day of class. Payment integrations, game changers. So you don't have to worry about just having internal payment plans where they have the option 1, 2, 3. Even if you have those, like we have some school owners that have payment option 1, payment option 2, payment option 3. The student can select what they need when they register if they're not going through Klarna or Afterpay or anything like that. And then you can make sure that they're getting the notifications and the payment links when those payments are due. And if the payment is overdue, you get an internal notification so you can get with the student right away, like, hey, what's going on? Because while you're in program, you don't want to get too far behind on them missing payments, because when it's time getting closer for them to graduate, that becomes an issue. So we've already thought about that. We've built that in as well. All your emails and SMS, the copy will always be written professionally, but also with a marketing touch so that we can convert more students, because that is the goal. And for this program, it's a one-time setup fee. So you don't have to worry about, okay, what does this cost? So it's a one-time setup fee, and the system monthly, it costs less than one student's tuition. And so this is a great alternative for you figuring out, okay, I got to hire admin staff. Admin staff calls out, admin staff gets sick. So automation it never sleeps. That's one thing you never have to worry about, is your automation sleeping or failing on you. And we have a customer service team that will help you. All you have to do is send a message and they'll fix whatever needs to be fixed in real time. So any questions from you guys from based on everything that you saw today? Any questions, comments, concerns? You can book a demo as well to get more detailed information for your school, for your system. If you want some help on trying to figure out what plan you need, you can book a demo for that as well. And for those signing up between now and the end of September, you get a 15 email lead nurturing sequence. So for your automation, for your inquiry journey, you get about 3 emails and 3 texts. And so to take it a step further, if you want to continue nurturing your leads, because 6 months from now, a student can sign up. It really just depends on you keeping contact with them. But do we have any questions from you guys watching? Anybody in the chat currently using a system that they like, that they want to share? Or are you still doing manual work? No shame, no shame. Most people are, because a lot of people don't know that something like this exists. You're just using what you knew to use when you started your school or your program. Great question. So the plan fees, and I'll pull that up now so you can see. Oh, the pricing page is already pulled up. So if you want to cover just one program, like you have a busier program, yes, this can be tweaked for home care. Absolutely. Especially, we also, that's not listed here, we have one for just leads. So we have a plan. If you just want to manage your leads, like your student inquiry, we have a plan for that. That's $199 a month. So that would be good for you, Daisha, to make sure that your leads have communication going, they fall into your CRM, and they're contacted back. So the essential plan is $499 a month. That covers all the student journeys we just talked about, the forms with the payments that we talked about, and missed call text back. This is really good for if you have one program, which most schools have more than one program. So we do have the $699 plan that has 3 different programs that we cover. And so some schools say, hey, let me start with one program, see how it goes, and then we can add on more programs. Right now for the C-suite special, for the C-suite plan, we're running a special for $250 off each month for the first 6 months, so that you can get all your programs set up and you can see how it works. And then you don't feel like, okay, this is an investment that I'm making and I don't know how it's going to work for me. But we definitely work with you to make sure that we can meet your needs. You can pay your monthly subscription by monthly. So instead of one chunk coming out during the month, you can have two payments come out at the beginning of the month and one at the end of the month. And again, this plan right here, that is the most popular plan, it comes with admin support. So at any point in time, if you need something added to your automation or your workflow, it can get done for you. This also comes with social media management. So you're getting 12 posts every single month custom to your school, to keep that marketing going, to make sure that you're getting your students from Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We connect all of those together and you're good to go. So for the tuition, one student's tuition, any one of these plans would cover that. And also, you are definitely not going to find any worker, employee, contractor, whatever the case may be, that is going to charge you less than this automation and is going to continue working for you 24 hours a day. Any other questions? Mendesha, if you want to book a demo call, we can talk more about your home care program. If a custom plan needs to be created for you, that works as well. And any of these plans are actually customizable, just depending on what you feel like your needs are and what you don't want. But for the most part, we did our pricing based on when we had our beta test and we launched our initially based on what would feel comfortable to vocational school owners throughout the year. So even during slow months, what would feel comfortable without feeling like your overhead is not manageable, but making sure that your school is improving with enrollment. So all of our schools have increased with enrollment. If you check out our website, you can see their reviews. You can contact me for more reviews. I have video reviews, so they're real. Yes, this can work with a Wix website. We can integrate on any website, no matter what platform it's on. So we can add your student interest workflow. We can add all of your registration workflows directly on your website.